tutorial for you. Had people asking me about settings for the public build and what I would recommend that they use, as well as people just kind of confused in general about what's going on with Untrusted, how to use these settings without getting untrusted, etc., etc. I already did a video on Overwatch. I'll go over a couple things again on Overwatch in this video, but mostly what I'm going to do is just the settings that I would recommend to get to Global Elite and how to not get untrusted using those settings. One important thing, just making sure that my video is working here. I had a problem with it uploading earlier and it wasn't saving. So, but we don't want to get Overwatch. We don't want to get untrusted. Unfortunately, nothing that I tell you is going to help with a VAC ban. That's up to the guys that are a bit smarter. They do a great job making sure that they're not getting any detected cheats. Because this is primarily for the public build. You guys who are using the public build, you got to be real careful. If you don't want to get vaxxed, you need to be updating every single day. Back when I used the public build, I checked before every single game I played to see if there was any release out, just in case. You should be checking 2 or 3 times a day if you're playing all day. Before every match is absolutely ideal. If you're just checking once a day, that should be fine. You're probably not going to get VAC banned, but a lot of people are complaining about VACs, and honestly, it's your own fault. You need to be keeping up with the most recent version. Honestly, any type of ban is going to be your own fault here, so just remember that. But I mean, I can help you avoid Untrusteds. I can help you avoid Overwatch, so that's what I'm going to try to do here. So here is my settings that I use for the public hack. So first off, there's your ESP, your wall hack. I don't need anything more than that. I don't think that anything else is going to be super useful, and you really shouldn't need a lot anyway. If you're turning everything on the hack, you probably want to consider playing a different game. So I use no recoil, I use trigger bot, and here's my settings over here. First thing, most important, hold key. You only ever use trigger bot with a hold key. Do not ever use trigger bot normally where it just automatically fires for you. I don't use any of this other stuff. You don't need it. As long as you're playing right and you know how to use the trigger bot, there's no reason to use any of this other stuff. As long as you got the hold key, that's going to get you through it. So I play with a 0 ms delay. One of the things I'm going to go over is how to not get untrusted while using a 0 ms delay. A lot of people have a problem with it. The methods that I use, they work in casual and competitive. However, for the most part, the settings themselves is what I use in competitive. If you're playing casual, if you're playing deathmatch, if you're playing arms race, any of those things, you can have different settings and it's going to work for you. But for competitive, to avoid Overwatch and to avoid Untrusted, these are the settings I'm going to recommend. So visibility check doesn't really matter too much. Enemy, angle, hold. Settings, you want to make sure it's hold. Neck and neck, never use head on your bone selection. That's just dumb. That's just asking to get banned. I see people do it and they just get headshot after headshot after headshot, and it's not worth it. Neck's going to get you headshots and body shots. It's going to get you the kills. It's going to make you look like a really good player without constantly getting headshots. So for my legit rage settings, you want your legit as low as you can right here. This is going to give me a little bit of aim assistance without being super powerful. You can turn it up a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't recommend going past about here before it starts looking just unlegit. I mean, obviously it won't be rage, but it's going to be really hard to not get overwatched. For your field of view, honestly, like, you can move it anywhere in here. You're going to be fine. The higher field of view is going to give you a little bit more control, and honestly, a really high field of view with a really low legit setting is going to be fine. It'll work. But again, what you want to do is you want to move this bar as low as you can, and then once you start playing terribly, then start moving it up just a little bit. But the lower that bar, the better you're going to be off. So make sure it's really, really low. So for my aim bot, you notice I use aim lock. That's what you want. You want aim lock hold. You want trigger bot hold. The only things that aren't going to have a hold key is your ESP and your no recoil. And I'll cover no recoil once I join in the game, just to kind of explain to you how to not get not overwatched, but untrusted while using 100% no recoil. because you'll notice I'm at 100% no recoil. And everything else, I mean, I just don't use. You shouldn't need it. It's all pretty dangerous. Don't use B-hops. It's a instant red flag that you're hacking in some sort. Just don't do it. There's no point to it. You're not going to get enough of an advantage. You're just going to look really cool, and then you're going to get overwatched. No flash. It's so hard to play with no flash on and not look like you're not using no flash. So I honestly, I wouldn't even use it. I wouldn't recommend it. With the trigger bot, you're going to be able to get some flashed kills when you really need them because you're using a hold key, but not always. So again, I've got my aimbot set to aim lock as a hold key, so I will never ever aim lock unless I want to. Same with trigger bot. Recoil and ESP will always be on. So I got a game set up with a bunch of bots. We'll go ahead and jump in that, and I'll start showing you some untrusted avoidance techniques. Let's get rid of all the bots.
Watch out. These bots have got a bit of an arsenal and they don't mind using it.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter. Nope, it does. I need to lose a round. Or win a round, because I don't have any money. Yeah, that's wrong. Sorry guys, just a second. And it doesn't want to restart. There we go. Yeah, I didn't add any bots.
Move it, son.
That's fine.
Counter-terrorists win.
There we go. That's what I needed to do in the first place. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is no recoil. So, this is what no recoil looks like when I pull the trigger. Alright, now that looks fine, and that is for the most part going to be fine. Great little spread, no big deal. The problem is if you do that every time, you're going to get untrusted. So what you want to do is when you pull the trigger, you want to pull down slightly sometimes. And I'll show you. So that was me pulling down, and I'll show you what that looks like on a wall. Just a second so I don't get killed. Oops. So I wanted to have no bots so I could just do this, but it's fine. Okay, so again, that's just pulling the trigger, super tight spray, you're going to get overwatched. Here's your other option. Still a really, really good spray, much less consistent, however. So all I'm doing right here is I'm pulling down on my mouse like I would normally when I'm spraying. But because I'm pulling down and have recoil compensation enabled, it's actually messing up my spray to make it worse. So what you can do effectively is you manually mess up your spray, and that's going to trick the untrusted bands. Let's do. I don't have enough money for trigger bot or the op. So here I'm going to show you the settings for my aim lock and what that's going to look like. So I've got my aim lock trigger on, and when I pull the trigger, gonna have no problem getting kills. Now obviously they're lined up there, but here's what it looks like. You'll notice it's very, very minor. Like, it's not really doing a lot. You still kind of have to aim when you're using these settings, but that's not a big deal because once you start, you're gonna have no problem just killing somebody. So that's with the neck. You'll notice not all those were headshots, but they all died really, really quickly. And as they're moving, I have no problem getting the kill there. That was actually pure aim lock. I wasn't moving my mouse to compensate for the bad accuracy myself. And that's if you just aim lock, that's what's going to happen, is you're going to... God damn it, hold still, bot. You're going to miss. So you just have to compensate left and right. You just got to get near their head. Honestly, get near their head and you're going to be fine. If you can't get near their head, if your accuracy is so bad, turn up your legit settings a little bit. And let's go ahead and cover trigger botting real quick. So I'm going to start off with trigger bot holding. So every shot here is going to be trigger bot. Now, so here's the problem. Untrusted is going to pick me up for hitting all these shots instantly. As soon as my crosshair crosses them, the trigger is getting pulled, which is a problem. We don't want to get overwatched, or not overwatched, excuse me, we don't want to get untrusted. So what you're going to do instead is you're not going to trigger every single shot. It's literally that easy. So here, trigger bot. Now I'm like, there's only one guy here, I don't need to use my trigger bot, I can just, and that was pure me, that was completely my finger, my trigger finger. All you're going to do is that. You're literally just going to run around and you're going to use your hold key most of the time, and then sometimes you just don't. Sometimes you pull the trigger on your own. And doing that will prevent you from getting untrusted. Now, you obviously want to hit shots, you want to win rounds, you want to win games, but sometimes you're going to be in situations where you just don't need the extra help from trigger bot. And those are the times where you're not going to use it. Like on a pistol, when they're low on health, just go ahead and spray them. Don't trigger bot them, there's no point. General rule of thumb, I would say, if you're trigger botting, you want to spend about 25% of your time not using your trigger bot, not pushing your trigger bot key, at least 25% of the time. So that's 1 in 4 shots you need to make sure that you yourself are pulling the trigger, or you're just not holding the trigger key. The other thing that I've noticed with Untrusted when it comes to the trigger bot is it's not just when you pull the trigger, it's anytime your crosshair is over an enemy. So what you can actually do is just scope in, get your crosshair over an enemy like that, and then kill him. That way the trigger bot system, the Untrusted system, is seeing that you're not always pulling the trigger at 0 MS anytime you're crosshair. But don't just like look at somebody and then not shoot them, because that just looks weird. You want to just take your time. So that was a trigger bot kill, but the first thing I did is I hesitated before I hit them. And that way the Untrusted system isn't seeing a 0 MS shot right there. What it's actually seeing is that my crosshair was on them for, you know, 200-300 MS before I pulled the trigger. And that's what you want. That's what you want the trigger bot system, or the Untrusted system, to see, is these inconsistencies. That's the most important thing, is a computer is going to be 100% consistent. You as a human will not be. So even if you're sitting at 100 MS trigger bot, if you trigger bot at 100 MS every single time, then you can still get untrusted. Because the system is recognizing that every shot you fire has roughly 100 MS delay. So that's what you're trying to avoid here. It's all you're trying to avoid, is just the recognition that you have these perfectly consistent shots. Now obviously Overwatchers can't see that. They're not worried about that. But so on a bit smarter in the information section, Fizz, I don't know, somebody tell me how to pronounce that at some point, I'm not sure, Fizz. He made a thread that used my information from MPGH, a thread that I had created, spruced it up, cleaned it up, made it look a little nicer, then posted it. In that thread, what I talk about is VAC bans, Untrusted bans, Overwatch bans, what they look like, how you get them, how you avoid them. This video is specifically about Untrusted, so I'm just going to cover that portion. The way an Untrusted ban works is that Valve has a system that monitors every game action that you take while you're playing. So it then calculates a bunch of statistics, as far as I can tell. One of those being the trigger bot, your trigger statistics. It's also going to monitor, it's going to monitor where your crosshair is placed, and if there is an enemy within your crosshair but through an object. So if I'm over here, it's going to know that I'm aiming at this guy or near him, and that's why people get untrusted with ESP, is because the system is detecting that my crosshair is constantly on this guy, even though I can't see him or shouldn't have any idea where he is. With the recoil compensation system, I covered that briefly already, but that's basically checking how tight your recoil is, how perfect it is, and if it's consistently following us the same pattern, which is again why you want to do the pull down every once in a while. Even when you're spraying an enemy, you want to be pulling down, and I'll show you that with the M4A4 again. I don't know if I specifically covered it. But so you want to pull down a little bit as you're firing. So you're still going to get kills because you still have, you know, basically perfect accuracy. You still have great recoil compensation, but you're not always hitting the exact same spots. So you pull down just a little bit, and it also prevents you from getting headshots all the time, which is going to be great for Overwatch. So that's all I'm doing here. I'm just pulling down a little bit, and then I'm resetting my recoil if I pull down too much by just stopping fire. Ah! And then again, back to the Untrusted, sorry. So that's what you want to do to avoid the recoil Untrusted, is just pull down a little bit. Don't have perfect accuracy every time. You don't need it. I mean, like, that is more than good enough. And then for the trigger bot, you just can't hit every shot at the same speed, especially at lower speeds. No one has that kind of consistency, not even the pros. Like, there's some variants that they're using. Let's see. So for the ESP, I wanted to go over that because I know a lot of people get overwatched with ESP because they're not using it right. So let's do that real quick. So first thing you want to do, you'll notice that I don't run around scoped in. Don't run around scoped in unless you're holding a known corner. Like right there is fine to be scoped in. But once you have to move, let's see, say I'm coming from this way. Now I could easily just hold this corner and then get these kills, because I know they're there, I know where they're coming from. But that looks suspicious as shit. So what you want to do is you just want to quick scope them. It's not hard. Just right click and then hold your trigger key. And then just get near them. And it won't look weird to an Overwatcher because you're quick scoping everything. So you want to try not to hold angles where you know there are enemies, wall scoped weapon, and you don't want to walk at weird places. The other thing you can do that I utilize all the time is the shoulder peek. So you want to come over to a corner, peek around with your shoulder, and then scope in after you've seen the enemy. And of course you're going to know they're there, but you're just going to go like this. You're just going to like bleep around a corner, and then you can scope and shoot the person like that, assuming he was there. But a lot of people get banned with just using ESP, and they claim that, you know, the hack must be detected because it's just ESP and blah 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 blah. You don't have to follow people through walls for people to think that you're using a wall hack is the thing. It's how you play. Are you playing like there's someone there? Basically, just don't scope something until you actually see an enemy. Let me show that shoulder peek from over here with a real enemy. So the key is you just peek around the corner and then you scope in. Now obviously these guys have knives, but even with quick scoping, like, it's more than fast enough to kill people all the time. I mean, again, I do this all the way up to global without any problems, haven't been overwatched. And it looks legit from an Overwatcher's perspective. Now if I was walking around like this, or if I was doing this, where I'm running, then I scope, and then, oh, nope, now I see him, now I can shoot him. No, that's bullshit. Like, why was I running around earlier, but now I'm not, you know? So, just use your scope only when you're holding a known corner. For example, if I'm here and I can see the guy through the wall, don't stop and just hold this corner. That's stupid. Go around the corner, shoulder peek real quick, see that he's there, and then kill him. So, I think that's all I got for this tutorial right now, guys. Let's see, I covered Overwatch, covered my settings. Let me go back over and just show my settings again real quick so people can see them. Once again, at the end of the video, just in case. If you have any questions for me, you can always hit me up on A Bit Smarter. Obviously, post in my thread, shoot me a message. I'll do another tutorial, you know, once I got some more material that people want me to cover. But otherwise, thanks for watching, guys, and take it easy.